what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a new thread, a new conversation, and we'll go with a different prompt here. So let's talk about, impact analysis, for instance. So we have a column here, and we do have this is points finish calculations, which takes the top 10 drivers for that. So let's say if we want to change, we have a change in definition, and we want to understand before we make any of this change, what is the impact of it. So I can use a simple prompt like this. I don't have necessarily always to enter the column name through the inline command. So show me the column lineage for the column is point finish in the model SDG F1 results. So what we expect now is that it will be understanding this lineage dependency first for us. It will ultimately generate a summary similar to before, to what we've seen earlier, and it's kind of like telling us how important is this column, right? So a significant impact across data models. It influences various different downstream metrics as well. So it's kind of like a pretty big thing for us, right? It's like a lot of things happening on the base of these metrics. New change in regulation, we need to change from 10 to top 8 driver. So those are the one that will be calculated as driver that got to points on it, right? So I'm going to now ask, and this is what going to point cost around context and managing context. This is where I can actually have a conversation about my data lineage and understand truly what's going to happen if I change from 10 to 8, right? Now let's press send and let's see what the agent will come up with. So the idea here on what we build is to have a full end-to-end conversation so that the agent not only can help us to understand the lineage, but also understand what is the downstream impact of those changes. Easy one, single line change, we go from 10 to 8. So it's a pretty small change, but what is the downstream impact of that? As this gets generated, it will actually print for us every single tables and column then is ultimately referencing this very upstream at the most base level column. Exactly. So I had, well, by changing that, there will be a new point finish criteria. You should expect then some of those metric will change in value. See here, recalculated based on new criteria. You will have this race performance rating. Point finishes in this other table will also change, lowering the count of drivers finishing 9 and 10. So it's a small change, just changing a number, but effectively there's a lot of downstream impact of the change. And I haven't made any change right now. It's just informed me about, okay, what is bound to happen there. When we look at the Mars layer, there's a major business impact. So I like this one because it kind of helps me understand what my user will get by me, or what my stakeholder will see by me just making that change in byte, right? So double points rate calculation will change. Latest double points might show different recent performance, significant driver analysis changes in the my driver championship table. Our statistic will be lower. That kind of makes sense because suddenly a lot of, driver then they maybe got, 9 and 10 plays. Now suddenly they have a lot less point, right? And then it goes on with business impact concerns, like what should I care? Right, so it creates some discontinuity with historical metric. It makes sense because it didn't tell that it's a pretty simple change. But is there like a point in time where this change happens, or actually now suddenly both from today onwards, but also in history, I'm going to change the state of that definition, right? This I think where things get super exciting is that it starts suggesting how to best perform that change I want to implement, right? So add some variables in place here in there for the columns, historical preservation as well. So keep the logic of pre-change data constant. Maybe try to think about different metrics. So it really helps me understand how going from 10 to 8, it's a simple change, but how I can bring continuity to my data models and my data pipes. So I have to say I'm pretty excited with this. It's whenever I see it at work, I'm like, what's good? So powerful. I think this use case here, it's about, okay, I'm about to make a change. It sounds like a small change. How do I know truly what is the impact of the change without having to run any DBT command, run any query purely by looking at the lineage and the content of our data, of our column. Pretty exciting one.